Hi guys, Vipin here. Today we'll be talking about the history of banking. Now, one of my students requested me to do a video when it comes to the basics of banking. That is explaining how a check works, what's a demand draft, all that. Now, this will be a two-part video. I'll be telling you in the first half what the origins of banking were like. And in the second half, I'll tell you how the modern banking system is like. Okay. So we'll start off with the first half where I'll tell you how the banking system actually came into origin. Now, once upon a time, if you remember, the currency system that we had was mostly gold coins or copper in some cases and silver, but we'll take gold for that matter now. Now, gold as a currency has its own problems. The reason why gold was actually taken as a currency was not because the kingdom was extremely wealthy, all that. Gold is one such commodity that doesn't lose its physical properties so easily. Now, if I take a paper note and if I were to transfer it from one person to another, the chemicals that are there at our fingertips is going to ruin the quality of that note over a course of time. It's not so the case when it comes to gold. It doesn't really lose its physical properties so easily. That's one of the reasons why they would use it as a form of currency. And of course, gold is a commodity which is quite easy to mold, give it a proper shape, and all that made it an advantage to go about using it as a currency. Now, if you are a person, say about in the early 12th, 13th century, and if you had a lot of gold coins with you, you're not really rich, you're just like everyone else. What would you have to do with these coins? It's pretty difficult to carry around gold. If you have done this, if you've actually worn a gold chain around your neck, you will actually notice how heavy the commodity is. Gold is a dense metal. It's one of the most dense metal that there is. And carrying it around in your pocket is not an easy thing to do. So people found a solution to this. They would deposit some of their gold coins with a goldsmith. Now, goldsmiths had an advantage because they were into the business of gold itself. They had these specialized vaults where they could go about storing the gold, whatever they were dealing with. And now once you deposit that gold there, the goldsmith would collect a small security fee for the gold that you have deposited there. In return, the goldsmith would go about issuing paper currency. Okay, notes you could say. On those notes, it would have different denominations. Now, let's say I deposited 100 gold coins with a goldsmith. He would take his commission. Let's say he takes about 10 gold coins as his commission. 90 gold coins, he would issue this back in the form of paper, like how a Sodexo pass is given. You have 10 rupees, 50 rupees written on a Sodexo pass. Something like that he would write on a sheet of paper. He would write on a sheet of paper that this particular paper is worth 10 gold coins, this paper is worth 20 gold coins, and so on. And then you could use these paper currencies to trade in the market. Okay, you could use these paper currencies to trade in the market. The system which the goldsmith started centuries back is still there today. You are able to see the trace roots of these practices even in modern times. I'll tell you how in a minute. Now, the person who you transacted with in the market, he could go about taking these paper notes, give it back to the goldsmith, and in turn collect gold coins. Now, if you look at a currency note, I have a 1,000 rupee note here. It's written here, somewhere here, it's written that I hereby promise to pay the bearer the sum of 1,000 rupees. Now, once upon a time, how it would work was the paper notes there would have, I hereby promise to pay the bearer 10 gold coins or 20 gold coins. So, this bit of text that you find on currency notes has a very, very old origin. This is not something new. This has been there for a very, very long time. So this is something which goes back to those days. So the guy who took your paper notes for whatever you bought, he could go back to the goldsmith and collect gold coins in return. This was how the system was designed. Now the goldsmith found a very interesting business when it comes to the gold coins that were deposited by you. He noticed that you could give gold coins in the form of loans for people who are into exploration work. If you remember, those were the times where most countries would set out to colonize different parts of the world. Fucking British. Oh, sorry. That's what they would go about doing. Set out to different countries and try to take over them in terms of colonization. Now, these exploration activities are very expensive. And remember, gold is a commodity which I refer to as a fungible commodity. Fungible. It means that gold is gold no matter where you are in the world. If I were to go to some tribe in Africa and tell them that I will buy your cattle in exchange for gold coins, they would be ready to do that transaction. At the same time, if I were to go to a stock market and say, I will pay the broker in gold for the commissions that he deserves, he would still go about accepting that. So gold has got like a universal appeal. So these explorers realized no matter where we want to colonize, we can do that provided we have a large amount of gold with us to set up our business operations. So the goldsmith would go about giving loans to the explorers, and the explorers would repay this with interest. Now the goldsmith started to become rich. One way he's making money is through the security deposit that I mentioned. You've deposited the gold, and because you deposited, he's collecting a security fee. Now that's one source of income. There's another source of income. He's using your gold, remember it's your gold, and giving it to explorers and making more money from that. Sounds a little bit unethical if you ask me. Then what happened was something called a bank run. If I was a person who deposited gold with a goldsmith and I see this goldsmith becoming richer and richer, the first thing that comes to my head is, how the hell is this guy becoming rich? Unless of course he's starting to sell my gold and becoming wealthy. Now the goldsmith was very clever. He could still show people that I have a large amount of gold with me by issuing these paper notes. He didn't really have to show that I have to keep physical gold with me. This paper note that you see here is like a promissory note. If you want your gold back, return the paper, I'll give your gold back. This was how the system would work. Now, the goldsmith was receiving a lot of criticisms by the people who deposited the gold. I mean, how could you actually go about using my money and making a profit? That sounds very unethical. Now the goldsmith started thinking with a very innovative strategy. I use your gold and give it to explorers and I make additional money with that. How about you and I share the interest that we make by using your money? Think about it. The goldsmith, let's say he gives loans at an interest rate of 10% to the explorer. Now he charges a deposit fee of 2% from you. This is the old model. So the total profit he would be making would be say 12%. Now the people realize that using my money and making additional money without my consent is a very unethical thing to do. So the goldsmith started off thinking in a better way. I give loans at 10%, you guys can keep 4%. I'll keep the balance 6%. This is something that continues to exist even today in the modern 21st century. Banks go about giving loans at say 10-15%. The interest rates you get on fixed deposits, it's like 9 or 10%. Whatever loans, the profits that they're making from loans, that interest share is given back to you. This is how the banking system actually evolved. It was through the goldsmiths the whole banking system came into origin. I hope you found the video when it comes to the history of banking helpful. There are many theories as to how banking systems actually came into existence. This is my favorite theory. And because it's a very interesting story to tell as well, I usually share this in class. So I hope you found this video helpful. Thank you for your time. Have a nice day and do subscribe to my videos. Bye.